First thing I want to mention is this sling is perfect for hanging a lapel microphone, but second of all, this might look like normal footage, but it's actually 360-degree footage. Whoa! And you can see the kind of the weird advantage of this is you can kind of reframe this at any moment. You can do kind of weird perspective shots and stuff like this. So normally there's software that lets you do this like stitching and shit like this, but I want to talk about how can you use Blender to work with 360-degree video and reframe and stuff like this. And I do not like filming in public, so let's get back to the tutorial section of this. You heard the man. We're going to be reframing 360-degree video in Blender, and the core idea behind how we're going to do this is the video is going to be in a sphere. We're going to put a camera inside that sphere and look around and shit like this, and this is important because I want to start doing more VFX with 360-degree video. So probably the next couple tutorials, they're going to be about 360 workflow. So anyways, start off with your footage. Here's my 360 footage. I really don't like this Windows Media Viewer thing. I just disable this. You can see here's the equi-rectangular 360-degree video. If you don't have access to this, I'm gonna drop some of this on Patreon, well, whatever. Get 360 footage, and once you're here, let me show you how to reframe it, okay? Once you have your footage, what we're gonna do is we're gonna open up Blender, and just like I described before, always making sure to go full screen, just like I described before, 360-degree video, in essence, is basically video projected on a sphere. You can look up, you can look down, you can look every direction, okay? That's what 360-degree video is. So if we were to make a sphere, and ideally you want this to be more subdivided, so you could add in a subsurf. Control 1 is the shortcut for adding in subdivision surface of level 1. You want this to be more dense in geometry. Once we make the sphere, the idea is, yes, we can project footage on the surface of this and then put the camera inside and all of this. So camera, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna put it in the middle. So that's N for the properties. I'm gonna take its X, Y, and Z location and set it to 0. In other words, I wanna put it at the origin. We can see this with wireframe. So basically I just put it in the middle of the sphere, and we can also like reorient it. So it's just kind of like facing forwards. So just completely facing in one direction. To project the video, what am I even talking about? To project the video, what you do is you go to the sphere, you create a material, so we want something to be playing on the surface of this, and then for the material, I guess let's get out of full screen so we can import this. You literally just click and drag your footage in here, okay? The way you want to think about this is this image texture node is, yes, it's holding video, but it's already holding this equi-rectangular footage, which means if we were to take this and connect it to the surface, automatically it's going to be wrapped around our sphere correctly. Again, you want to imagine that the center of the sphere is where the GoPro in my case is, and we're filming and all of that. And the footage is surrounding around it. A couple things, if we click play, nothing happens, so make sure to enable auto refresh. This is just so that, it updates every single frame. Also make sure that your footage is going for enough frames, and I'm just gonna start it. I'm gonna trim in on frame 300, so I'm already like walking at the beginning of this. Final thing, I know you wanna get into the reframing. Color management, set it to standard. This is just gonna make sure that the colors aren't like switched. So again, normally it's at filmic, it changes the stuff because of dynamic range, blah, blah, blah. Set it to standard, okay? Now, if we were to look at our camera, let's go to layout. If we were to look at our camera, which is inside the sphere, you can see we're now looking at a portion of the video. It looks low resolution because I made a low resolution preview of this, but you could do this with high res, right? But ignore that for now. The core idea is now that we have our camera inside of this, we can literally rotate it and kind of reframe and look at different sections of the footage, which makes sense. By the way, if you hit R twice on the keyboard, that's a good way to do this, okay? Issue is it's kind of like it's taking up too much space. Like, well, why is my face mask like in the entirety of this? To fix this, you just go to the camera settings. So again, everything we do here is going to be with the camera. The sphere is stationary. With the camera settings, take your focal length and bring it down. You don't want to go crazy because then the distortion gets heavy, right? Unless you want that. But something like 12 or 13 is perfectly fine. And then let's hide the background, okay? And now we've reframed the footage. So if I play some of this, you can see the footage is going. I can animate the camera rotating, whichever way I want. Again, you hit R on the keyboard twice to do this. And then really the idea of reframing, or really the idea of how do you animate this thing, I guess, is it's just keyframes, right? So I could add in a keyframe here, not a location keyframe, but make sure that is a rotation keyframe. So I, and then rotation. And then let's say 50 frames later, we want it to look at the other side. Again, the footage is going to be playing at the same rate in every direction, but now we're rotating it. By the way, I guess this should be 30 frames per second. Okay. The cool thing about this, though, is you can animate your camera however you want. You can add in procedural noise to give like fake camera shake as if you're actually like, filming it as if it wasn't a 360-degree video. You can do all this. But one more thing I want to talk about is how do I do the crazy angles, because this just shows you how do you like reframe and refilm, and you can change focal length. You can animate that too. But how do you get the crazy angles? Well, the issue is if you take this focal length and bring it way back, I know you want that like walking on a globe effect and stuff like that. And that is kind of achieved by making a small focal length, but this isn't working, okay? Instead, what you want to do is change your camera type. Again, we're only messing with the camera. Change it to panoramic. It's not going to do anything because Eevee isn't compatible with it for a technical reason. I don't think that's actually something that can ever be fixed from what I've read. Whatever. There's an add-on that does it sloppily. Either way, switch to cycles, and you're going to notice that, it's actually done something. We have a bunch of different panoramic types. I'm just going to stay with this one. Lens is basically going to say how big is this circle inside of here, and field of view, which is the one we care about. I want it to look at all 360 degrees of the video. So I'm just going to type in 360. It's going to add in that boundary. Let's make that even a bit smaller, again, with the lens. And now we have the footage. Again, it's footage, it's not an image, but now it's projected on this fisheye equi-solid, whatever that means. Cool thing about this, though, is you can just change the rotation of the camera. I think Z is the one we care about. No, Z is just going to, like, it's kind of hard to think about this. You just want to imagine there's a camera inside your sphere that's looking at all angles. If you change the X rotation is the cool one, you can put it so that I think the number is 0 or 360. This makes it look like you're walking on a globe. And in the inverse of this, you can have the sky be on the interior. If you make it 180 degrees, now you can see the sky's on the interior. And there's a couple other things you can. So now we're just getting in the weeds here. There's also fisheye equi-solid. No, that's what we were on, equi-distant. That's going to make it so that it's actually taking up the whole aspect ratio. We don't care much about that. Mirror ball exists. The only other interesting one is equi-rectangular, which is kind of like how the footage came in the first place, but now we're just like messing with the coordinates and all this. So let me just reposition these. Boom. This is how you get other kinds of interesting shots where you can change the distortion. So now it looks like I'm walking from left to right frame and stuff like this. So anyways, I think that's the essence of the tutorial. The important part was how do you reframe footage and stuff like that, and we talked about it. So more 360 stuff coming soon if people are interested, since I'm now doing 360 stuff, I guess. Anyways, what's this on the right? Is it a list of 1 to 360 degrees? No, it's a list of patrons. Patreon is a place where I already mentioned you can get files like this 360 degree video. I'm going to attach it so you can play around with it, assuming you don't have a 360 degree camera. Patrons also get, all 750 of you, also get access to exclusive tutorials that I do not post on either channel. Those come a little more infrequently, this month because of the arm, but I'm trying my best. I have a good idea for the next one. Also, exclusive project files like I just talked about, early access to tutorials. So for example, this one was uploaded a day early. You could have seen it early, but you didn't. If you care about these things, Patreon is the place you want to be. There's a link in the description. If you care, you've clicked it. If you don't, then you've already clicked off. So Patreon exists. You don't need to do it. But anyways, I hope you learned something in this tutorial about projections and 360 and all this. And that's the show. I got nothing else to say. See ya. Bye.